Welcome back everyone to another Warframe video. Today I'll be discussing and pointing out why it's very important to collect the decree fragments during your circuit runs. So let's get into it. Most of the time when I'm doing the circuit on public lobbies, I see a lot of people who are not even aware of the decrees. So please collect them every round, because it helps the whole squad with buffing up the weapons and even the warframes. What are the blue things on the map every round? Do I need to pick them up? Yes! For the love of God, just pick them up when you see them, because they add up to more damage, more synergies, more criticals, more critical damage, faster attack speed on critical hits, passive energy for the warframe on full health so you can spam more skills, passive shield gating with every melee kill. You don't even need to waste that mod space for the shield gating mechanics. But that only applies to when you kill a mob with melee. Hence why I recommend that you stop picking up the buffs for primaries or secondaries, because eventually you will run out of ammo as you climb higher in the circuit. So keep buffing the melee and you won't go wrong with your run. As for the decrees, most of the time I spend the first few seconds looking for them visually. But if you still can't spot it, you need to start listening to it. It has a very unique audible cue, kind of like when you're looking for loot caches on sabotage missions. As you can see from the video, I just pick them up sometimes based on how I hear them, and the closer you get, the louder it is. Going back to the melee decrees, it's very important to grab those instead of the shooting decrees. It has more synergies associated with the damage. Always prioritize on grabbing the double melee damage, double status damage, status spread, and there's even a decree that heals you just for applying status passively, like the cold effect and the heat effect. It also has its melee counterpart of the decree. I basically just get into the circuit with just the stock build, provided with the weapons that are available. Why? Because you don't need to build them up, when all you have to do is just collect the decrees to have a smooth run. But that's just for weapons. You can take your frame builds if you had them. If not, just make sure to pick decrees that'll buff up your melee weapon. Sometimes you can even reach red crits with just those stock mods if you get a really good roll on your decree much earlier into the run. One of the important decrees to watch out for is the overguard on melee kill. This will save you from being knocked down frequently as you go further in the run. Pair this with the heal from applying status effects, which heals you for 20 HP per status applied, up to 120 HP per tick, and the heal from killing enemies, which heals you for 20 HP per kill, up to 120 HP healed per kill, which is way better than using a gun. Aiming, reloading, running around because you're reloading, and boom, you get knocked down. Versus the melee, hold down one button and move your frame around. It'll kill something eventually. As you saw from that, I didn't even get to see where the decree was. So it helps if you just listen to them. See, what am I gonna pick? Full health. This gives you almost full energy. Because if you keep your HP up, it's gonna regenerate more energy for you. Void Flood. Never really fond of those. Inflicting Cold or Toxin. Now that is one of the best decrees that you can get. Casting an ability deals 100 corrosion damage to nearby enemies and doubled on warframes. Now that is really good for armor stripping. So make sure to grab that if you get it in one of the decree rolls. Killer's Confidence. On melee, gain 80 overguard. That is something you need to grab. Greedy Heal. Killing enemies restores 20 HP. Now that is what I was talking about earlier. You gotta grab that every single time it shows up. Nearby enemies are affected by cold status. Okay, why do you need that? It's to stop the enemies from moving too fast, from shooting too fast, and killing you too fast. There's the melee equivalent of that. And these are all, it's all right there. You just have to pick up the decree. You know? Make the run easy for you. Critical melee grants 50% critical damage for 7 seconds. And it only applies to melee, as I have said earlier. Focus on the melee. Forget about shooting. Now using Volt and Volt's shield gives you an extra 50% critical damage when you either hit from it or shoot from it. So he's pretty much an all-around type of frame that you can take anywhere with you. And like I said, pretty versatile from the other videos. If you got him as your starter frame, you are all set. The overguard that I was talking about earlier. At level 3 you get 120 overguard, which is a lot. It can save you from so many things. Look at Volt's shield. That extractor almost went down, but just drop a few shield in a cross or crisscross or a square, whatever you want. You can save it. Almost as good as Frost's dome. And that's it for the Volt run. I didn't even reach 7 with that, so yeah. Now for this run, I continued with Mirage. She's one of my favorite frames as well, especially for Sanctuary Onslaught. So you may want to invest on her early as well. Get the Prime version. With her, I didn't put any shield gating as well. You don't need it. You're gonna get your decrees, just lay down the skill and let it do its job of one-shotting everything. Each stack of corrosion grants 60 armor up to 5 times for 12 seconds. Now, why do you want that? You want that for another decree that synergizes with it, which is a decree that increases your ability power for the total amount of armor you have. So that goes pretty well with Mirage, or frames that relies heavily on ability power. Inflicting cold or toxin status also inflicts viral. Now that is what you need to get when you see it. Just grab it ASAP. Killing enemies restores 10% health. Okay, now I've got to correct myself. It heals you for 10%. Then the next one is 20, and then 40, and then 80. Now that's a pretty good deal if you're asking me. So always grab that. Casting an ability deals 50 corrosive damage to nearby enemies and applies 2 corrosion stacks. Damage radius doubles for warframes. That's great for armor stripping. Casting abilities boost movement speed by 50% for 5 seconds. If you're relying heavily on your frame, that is a must-have. Because the more you cast, the faster you go. And you want that speed to at least avoid some shots coming to you or hitting you. Efficiency is pretty good. But if you're using shield gating mechanics, you may want to have that high. Because the more energy you spend, the bigger the shield. And the longer the shield gate. On Warframe ability cast, refund 25% of energy spent on Drifter ability cast. The transference bar fills 30% more for 6 seconds. Grab that if you're heavily relying on abilities. Inflicting a status effect heals for 20 health. Grab that. Definitely grab that. As you can see, it's very easy to spot the decrease. They're shiny, but easy to grab. Deal 10 heat damage per second to nearby enemies with 15% status chance. Enemy struck, blah blah blah. Grab it. That's what you need. It applies heat damage in an area around you. And it also helps stagger the enemies because they flail around like they're burning. It stops them from shooting you. Foes inflicted with status effects have a 50% chance to spread that. Every 50 armor grants 5% ability strength and power strike damage up to 500%. So like I mentioned earlier, if you get the decree that increases your armor, this will synergize with it, thus giving you more ability strength. Status effects deal double damage. Having all that heat, that corrosion, that cold damage, it's gonna increase all of them. So grab it. I mean, I have no comment on that one. It's just something that if you don't have a choice, always grab the overguards. Gain 20% damage for every enemy affected by status within 20 meters. This applies to both melee and shooting damage. But then again, we're only choosing melee for this. One of the main things that bothers me mostly is that DE still doesn't fix the graphic issues with some of the decree fragments. Sometimes you can't even see them because they're under the map or under the rubble, whatever, the environment. At least raise them up for all the resolutions. Like sometimes I can't even see them. So please, DE, please fix it. Inflicting a status effect restores 40 health. That's a level 2. It just keeps going higher and higher. Each successful melee hit grants cumulative 10% critical chance for 3 seconds. So every time you hit the mob, you get extra crits. Hit the mob 5 times, you get 50 crit. 10 times 100. You can easily reach that red crit status. Sometimes when you're seeing that decree button, just switch to your operator to make it viable again. And that's the only fix for it. If it still doesn't work, switch back to frame. If it still doesn't work, switch back to the operator until it works for you. Before I forget to mention, all of that status chance that you get from the decrease, they all add up. So if you see a status chance, grab it. I hope that this video helps you in your next circuit runs. If there's anything that I've missed, or you have questions or a bug that you've encountered in the circuit, write it down in the comments below. This whole run took around 1 hour 40 minutes, so I'd say it was pretty fast. And on that note, make sure to hit that 3 buttons, and I'll see you on the next Warframe video. Have an awesome day. Peace.